Hello. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you all to Sunday Evening Talk. So, we trust that you are doing fantastic in every way. So, today we have a topic which is, I believe, something very important: healing relationships. So, the way I understand is that the quality of a life can be actually gauged by the quality of our relationships. And if in any way, in any case, if the energy exchange in our relationships is not of the highest quality, then our relationships are not, of the highest quality, and hence our life. So this is a very important topic. And to share about this, we have Parmjit with us, brother Parmjit. A very warm welcome to you too. Thank you for joining us. So Paramjeet is from London. He's joining us from Harmony House. So he's a student teacher of Raj Yoga since 25 years. He delivers courses, seminars, and talks to individuals of all ages and backgrounds on spiritual and mental self-development, enabling them to reach their potential and also going beyond the limited aspirations. So his background is in management of 30 years, gained in the private as well as public sector, including fashion and education industry. He is currently self-employed in the construction industry. So, brother, thanks a lot again for joining us. So, I'll pass it over to you to hear more on healing relationships.
Shanti, thank you, Varun, and a very good evening to you all in Hyderabad and anywhere else in India. In the UK, it's 5 minutes past 12. It's dry. The weather in this country is a bit volatile, and currently the country is in a little bit of a lockdown situation because of the pandemic. But nevertheless, it's very wonderful that we can all connect with each other now through Zoom, and time and distance is no longer a barrier. And today's talk is all about healing relationships. Here we're just coming to Christmas. There's 5 more days left till Christmas. So during the Christmas spirit, there is definitely a feeling of that we should get together as a family atmosphere where everybody meets each other, irrespective of religions. And I know that many of the population here, I'm based in Leicester, which is about 100 miles north of London. They are very active in Christmas festivities, but this year, obviously, they're a bit subdued. Nevertheless, life goes on, and I want to talk about relationships. Now, relationships are things that give us happiness, give us wonderful experiences, but sometimes relationships leave us with very deep scars, and it's very difficult to let go. And today I want to explore some of the reasons why relationships break down, and more importantly, look at some very simple solutions where we can rebuild those relationships, where we can heal the scars of the past, build bridges, and have a wonderful and loving relationship with everyone and everything. Because relationships are not just with other beings, but sometimes we have a relationship with our job, with our possessions, and we even have a relationship with ourselves. So in order to have a relationship with others that's based on equality, based on happiness, I first need to have a very wonderful relationship with myself. Because if I'm not happy with myself, if I'm not content with myself, then that will be projected into the external relationship, whether it's with my immediate family or at work or with anything that I interact with. So let's explore why relationships break down. Now, I think everyone in the world always wants a loving relationship. They want a relationship that's very easy, is very accepting. So why is it that relationships in today's world, and I'm especially talking about today's world, it seems to be very fickle, very sensitive, where people are easily sort of influenced by situations. If they're not liked, if they're not welcome, they feel rejected, they feel isolated. And I've looked at why relationships break down. And there's 3 main reasons I thought. One is expectations. We have a lot of expectations in a relationship, desires, and there's a lot of attachment. Now, I don't know what your relationship is like at the moment, but before we do that, I want you to have a relationship with yourself for just 1 minute, less than a minute. I want you to really love yourself, go into silence and start accepting yourself as you are, what you are. So let go of everything else and everyone else. Let go of your past. Just focus on yourself right now. Just accept the self. Don't impose any conditions. Just accept the self. I am a wonderful being. I treat myself with respect, kindness, with love. No one can take these virtues, these attainments away from me. They are mine forever. I have the power to rule over myself. I am the master of the self. Om Shanti. So I hope you had a nice experience connecting with yourself. Now, in today's world, everyone is looking for happiness, looking for stability, looking for acceptance. But instead of looking inwards, they tend to look outwards. I know in the past for myself, I was very much attached to my family's business, and my relationship was with the business. And it was at the expense of everyone else. And if anyone interfered in that business, I became upset. And I realized how that relationship actually changed the way I behaved. Fortunately, I saw the light some 25 years ago, and I started to do some meditation, and things changed. So why is it that we get into a relationship and then suddenly, over a period of time, the relationship goes down? And the primary reason is that human beings of today are very empty. So that emptiness, they're trying to fill from the outside. So when I'm talking about emptiness, I'm talking about contentment, I'm talking about self-respect, I'm talking about happiness, I'm talking about love, kindness. And we all think that if we meet someone in our lives, we'll be very happy. So for example, when you meet someone for the very first time, whether it's at home, whether it's a new member of the family or a new friend, at that moment in time, the relationships are very wonderful. Have you had those moments? You know, when you've met someone new and think, wow, that person is so nice, so wonderful. I could spend my whole life with them. You know, there's that feel-good feeling at that moment in time. And you know why it's wonderful? Because at that moment in time, I accept them without any conditions attached. I accept them as they are, what they are. But what happens is, in time, as the relationship develops, I will start imposing conditions on the relationship. Whereas before, there was 100% acceptance, unlimited acceptance. I didn't see someone's weaknesses. I accepted them as they are, what they are, regardless of religion, regardless of their gender, their age, whatever their background. But then gradually, what I do is I don't get the experience that I did have before. So what I'm doing is I'm starting to put conditions on the relationship. So I may say, well, you know, if you have my dinner ready when I come from work or come from the outside, I'd really be happy. You know, so this is a relationship with a partner or a husband and wife. And if that dinner is on the table at that time, then the person is very happy because the condition has been met. So we start putting these little conditions, dress like this, walk like this, talk like this. And if they meet these conditions, if they tick all the boxes, I'm happy. But when those boxes are not ticked, when the expectations are not met, then we feel upset because we were expecting them to conform to my way of thinking and doing. And not only am I imposing conditions on the relationship, so is the other individual. Now, we know in life, we can meet people's expectations for a short time, but not all the time. So inevitably, based on this, where I'm taking from the relationship is going to break. So now I'm caught up in a relationship. I feel very unhappy. I feel that I'm neglected. I feel isolated, and I'm no longer in control. And I yearn for that feeling that I had right at the beginning of that relationship. So you'll often find this, that with some people, especially in the West, where the relationships begins very good, and in a very short space of time, people start fighting amongst themselves, they argue, and even it comes to physical altercation. That's because the expectations has taken over acceptance. So what happens in that moment in time, I'm starting to remember all the points that somebody has inflicted sorrow on me. So it could be a situation, it could be a word, it could be an action. Now, every time I see that individual, my feelings are one of very atrocious. They're very negative towards that person. So I feel I don't want to be with them. And I feel that they've hurt me. And they may do the same as well. So what happens is I'm looking for an exit strategy of that relationship. And this is why I've noticed even in India, divorce rates are rising, relationships are very short-lived. And so what happens is I get out of the relationship. Now I feel very happy. I feel relieved because the relationship has finished and I feel good riddance to that individual. So now I feel for this moment in time, relieved. There's a sense of relief that I'm no longer under the control of others. But then there is that feeling again, I need to be a sense of belonging to someone. I need a sense that I need to be someone. So what happens is I start looking for a new relationship. And again, I find someone. And what happens is I go through the whole same model. So based on this, any relationships that I have will automatically be doomed to failure. And so I'm never going to find a person who will always be 24/7 to my expectations. So the problem is not with the individual. The problem is not with the outside world. The problem is actually me. It's me that's giving myself sorrow, and it's me that's giving myself happiness. But I don't always see it that way because I'm very quick to blame others. I mean, think about a relationship that you're in, husband and wife, father and son, brother and sister, a work colleague. I bet you that there's some points where you feel that they have to change. They have to do this. And you know why? Because my ego is such, I can't afford to step down. I can't be seen to bow down to others. Others have to bow down to me. They're wrong, and I'm always right. That's the ego. The ego always deceives us. So a relationship based on the external, where I become dependent on that relationship, I'm never going to be happy. I'm always going to feel discontented. Sometimes, yes, I'll feel happy. Sometimes I'll feel sad. But generally, there's a trend. It's always downwards. So if I continue on this model, my life is going to become very bitter. I'm going to feel very lonely. I'm going to feel very insecure. And my nature is going to become very sensitive. So I need to change. Now, can you change your friend? Can you change your partner? Their behavior, I mean. Have you tried changing them? Maybe they conformed to change for a while. You know, it's like a school teacher. When they try to control children in this country, they normally raise their voice. They shout their head off and say, silence, please. Now, for that brief moment, there is silence. But what happens? Then people get back into their routine because that's their nature. That's their, so you can say, personality traits. So you can't change people. It's a waste of time. So the solution to healing relationships is not out there. It's looking inwards. Now, the moment I look inwards, I'm taking responsibility for myself. Now, it's very hard initially to look at the self and realize I'm the problem because it's so easy. It is so easy to point the fingers at others and say, well, actually, you're the problem. You've got to change. You've got to get out of my life. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. But actually, the solution is looking inwards. You know, it is Einstein who said, you cannot fix a problem in the same consciousness it was created. So in this instance, we have to shift the consciousness because at the moment, this whole world's consciousness is in the consciousness of the outside. So I identify with I am so-and-so, I am this, I am that. So when I identify with the outside, I'm taking. And if I'm taking from the outside, I want everyone to conform, to behave the way I want them to be. So let's take a relationship with a possession. Now you may think, I don't have a relationship with possessions. Of course you do. I bet you have a relationship with your smartphone. Is it iPhone? Is it Samsung? Mine's very cheap. Mine is a leftovers from my family because all I know is it performs the function. Now in my job in the construction industry, my phone is always falling out. So if it's an expensive phone and I'm attached to that phone, it's going to hurt, of course. But when it's a simple phone, I can live with that. Why? Again, because in that relationship, I'm taking. So let's say I see something on the internet. I see something in a shop. Let's say it's a chair. Yeah? Makes a nice bit of furniture. Now, at the moment, it's just a chair. But each time I look at that chair in that shop on the internet, I start having a desire. I desire to own that chair, to have that chair. Now, when will I be happy? You know, I'll only be happy when I've acquired the chair, when I've acquired that car, when I've acquired that phone. Now, it's no longer a chair. It's no longer a phone. It's no longer a car. What is it? It's my car. It's my chair. See, this is what happens in a relationship. From a relationship where I just accept, it's mine. And the moment I become possessive, I have to control it. But the more I become attached to that chair, the more I become attached to those physical facilities, the more I become dependent on them. Now that chair is giving me insecurity because I feel very secure if the chair stays in its pristine condition. But somebody walks into that room and says, what a horrible looking chair. How would you feel? Would you feel happy? Of course not. Why do you feel unhappy? Why do you get upset? It's just a chair. Somebody's criticized the chair, but why are you taking it personally? Because I've identified with that chair. Now it's no longer a chair. I am the chair. So when people criticize that chair, because I've got a relationship with that chair is controlling emotionally how I feel. But if somebody criticized the chair while it was still in the shop or still on the internet, you wouldn't have got upset because you know it's just a chair. And this is what happens in relationships. We start out being free from attachment, but gradually we become attached to it. And the more attached we become it, the more independence we lose. Now, everything is controlled by the outside. No wonder in today's world, relationships are very short-lived. So again, like the physical relationship with a friend or a husband or a wife, I'm fed up, I want to move on. So I will get a new chair, a new phone. Because in this world, we're constantly competing with each other. We're constantly comparing ourselves with others. My relationship has to be like this. I mean, in this country, I've noticed that a lot of Asian parents, put a lot of pressure on their children because they have a lot of expectations of their children to perform well at school, to get good jobs, because they are imposing on that relationship. But what if you let go? You let go of attachments, you let go of dependencies, and you start focusing on yourself. The moment we focus on ourselves, everything changes. It's a game changer. So now, if I look inwards, I realize the solutions to my problems are within me. It's not the children, it's not the chair, it's not the work colleague, it's not my family, it's not my neighbor, it's not society, it's not religion or politics or whatever it may be. It's me. I've got to shift my consciousness. So I've got to get away from the consciousness, I am so-and-so, I am this and that. That's the root cause of problems, is this I. So when I look at myself and I look inwards, I realize actually, I'm not so-and-so, I'm an actor playing a role. So think about a relationship right now. Can you see yourself as the actor? The husband and wife relationship. You're an actor playing the role of a wife, the role of a husband, the role of a child, the role of a student, the role of one who is a keeper of that chair. It is just a role. So I need to understand who I am. And if I can connect with myself, that's when the healing process begins. The first step in healing a relationship is to heal the relationship with the self. Because if I'm not happy inside, I will not be happy with the outside world. Because I know that many years before I did my meditation, I was a very angry young person. And why was I angry? Because I expected everybody to do what I wanted them to do. And people don't behave like that. You can't live in a world where you're constantly putting demands on others. We have to learn to accept. But before we accept others, let's learn to accept ourselves. So I had the realization that I am a being, a spiritual being, who is the actor, who is playing the role. I am not the chair, I am not the role, I am this spiritual being. And the more I connected with myself, the more I found contentment, the more I found happiness, the more I found stability in my life. Because in life, everything is constantly changing. The weather changes, people change, and even this physical body changes. So I have a relationship with this physical body. This is the biggest relationship we have, is with this physical body. Now, of course, I look after the body. I have a very healthy lifestyle. I have a plant-based diet, and in my job as a construction owner, I have to visit many sites, and it keeps me very active. But I know this body is just my vehicle. It's just a costume, and I'm just a trustee, and I'm just an instrument looking after this. And that shift of awareness is absolutely gigantic, because when I accept myself, then I realize I don't have to compete with the world outside. I don't have to compare. So when I'm looking at myself and I accept myself as this, you can say a spirit, a soul, or consciousness, or energy, whatever you feel comfortable with, then I realize that everything that I ever wanted in life, I already have. Yes, facilities I acquire so I can have an experience. I want to be happy. Ultimately, ask yourself the question, why am I getting into a relationship with another human being, with a job, with a possession? And you'll find that the answer ultimately lies in, I want to be happy. I want to be peaceful. I want to be content. So it's a feeling that we want to experience in that relationship. But that feeling is already within me. It's there in abundance. So the moment I accept myself, and what do I mean by that? Unconditional. I'm not living in the past. I was like this or that. No, I am who I am. So the moment I accept myself, I start letting go of the past. And the moment I let go of the past, guess what's happening? I'm healing the scars of the past. So now I feel very comfortable, very secure with my own company. And when I tap into that attainments that we all have in abundance, I feel very secure because I realize that change is inevitable, but the one being that never changes is me. So I know that the body is going to change. So you see these gray hairs. Now, I know that when I had my first white hair that popped up, it was in my 30s. Oh, the shock. I felt horrible. I felt, oh my gosh, I'm growing old. So I just pulled the hair. I just threw it away. I was all right. So you can see how we get attached in our relationship with even the physical body. Now, the change was inevitable. The reason why I couldn't accept it, because I didn't have the inner resources to cope with change. And that's today's problem. I've seen that everything is changing, but we lack the resources to cope with change. But the resources are not out there. It's within me. So as I tap into that core essence of who I am, I will experience a place where I feel very secure. So if people come in and out of my life and possessions come, situations change, I realize that nothing and no one has the power to control how I feel. Because ultimately, how I feel is my choice. And I exercise that choice to be happy, to be content. So when I'm happy and content with myself, this then will be projected into the relationships that I'm involved in now. So I know I've been faithful to my wife. I've been married for over 40 years now. And yes, it's been testing. There have been moments up and down. It's a little bit like a roller coaster ride. But somehow I've realized that when the moments were really happy is because I didn't have any conditions. And the moment when relationships were not so happy is when I wanted my wife to be the person that I wanted her to be. That's why I was saying earlier on that a lot of parents have expectations of their children, but they don't realize that that child, their children, have their own ambition, own aspirations. And whereas I grew up in a very strong Asian sort of conditions where my parents were imposing what I had to do, and ultimately I was trying to please them. When we had our children, we didn't put conditions on them. We allowed them to be themselves. And because of that, my relationship with our three children is one like friends. It's very easygoing. Yes, I have a very good and wonderful relationship with my parents who are still alive. They're currently in Mahali in this lockdown situation. They only went there for 6 months, but they've been there nearly 18 months. And I think it's going to be next year before they come. But the relationship has thrived because all of us has realized that we have to allow others to be themselves. I remember my father once said to me, he says, you know, I should have let you go because you could have been absolutely, you know, the sky's the limit. You could have done anything. And I said, Dad, it doesn't really matter. That was the past. It's the most important aspect of life is the present. So if my relationship with myself is good now, I'm happy and content now, then time has no hold over me. Then I'm being just me. So when I'm being me, I will project that in the relationship outside. So now I'm no longer imposing conditions on the relationship. I'm accepting. I'm no longer competing. I'm no longer comparing, because I realize that everyone has the right to be themselves. And I need to allow that freedom, but I can only allow that freedom when I'm free inside myself, when I've broken the dependencies of the outside world. And that doesn't just mean physical being, but it's also time, because many, many people in today's world are stuck in the past. This happened and that happened, and they just can't have closure in that relationship. That's because they're not accepting the self. So I've realized I don't need anyone's permission to be me, and I don't need to prove myself to others. If someone doesn't accept me now, it's not my problem, it's theirs. But what happens is that if I'm happy and content with myself, I have discovered that people will automatically be happy with me because they no longer see me as a threat. They don't feel intimidated by my ego, by my arrogance. They feel totally comfortable, secure in my presence because I'm accepting them on the basis that I've accepted myself. So the more I accept myself, the more I become free from the past and others. And now I am full, I am happy. And as I experience that, this is then reflected in my whole personality. So what I'm doing is I'm healing the scars with myself first and foremost. Now, I will only be the being that I am, that I'm inside. For example, let's say I gave you a bottle of apple juice. When you open the apple juice bottle, what will come out? Apple, not lemonade, not orange, just apple. Why? Because the content of that bottle is just apple. In the same way, whatever content is within me, whatever experiences I'm experiencing, that's what I will be revealing to the outside world. So if I'm happy and content now, then of course I'm going to be happy and content with the world outside. I remember my son, when he graduated, he says, Dad, I'm going. I said, yeah, fine, no problem. He says, no, I'm going to go to tour the world. And that was the first time I discovered. And he said, yeah, I'm going around the world. And whereas before, I know I would have got upset. You know, I know if I'd done that to my parents, they would have definitely got upset because they wanted control. And the difference was this time, there was no sense of I had to control my son. He had the freedom to be who he was. So for 4 years, he traveled the world. He went to the West and went right round. He stayed in India for about 6 months as well. So he's literally toured every country in the world. And now he does his own thing. He's in his final year studying his PhD. Now, I always thought he was going to end up as an academic. But even though that was my wishes for my son, at the end of the day, it was his choice. And so when we allow others to be themselves, the relationships always flourish. And so now my door is open. It doesn't mean I have to connect with my children or my friends and families all the time. No. When they're in front of me, they get 100% of my attention. They get 100% of my love. But when they're gone, I don't think about them because I know that I need to connect with myself. And this is what I've discovered in my last 25 years practicing Raj Yoga meditation, that the more I connect with myself, then the relationships automatically heal. So I have a wonderful relationship with my workers. They said, you know, they always call me boss. And I says, look, I value their decisions. I value their opinions. But at the same time, when I'm assertive, I can be assertive. So in a relationship, there needs to be openness. There needs to be transparency. There needs to be honesty. There needs to be truth. And so when I'm in that relationship, it's that moment I find that I can have a meaningful relationship, not based on well, what's in it for me? Because in today's world, people's relationship is very selfish. Think about your relationship. Why are you in that relationship? It's best because you want something. You're always putting yourself first. Very few people actually listen, actively listen to others, where they actually show empathy. Yes, we can show pity or we can show mercy for a short while, but that is very temporary. When I'm accepting them as they are, what they are, that's when you find relationships are good. So here, I'm living with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds. So I'm never intimidated by someone's position. So I interact with people who are very wealthy. I've got some very wealthy clients, but equally, I have clients who are very, very simple. They're very humble. Their dwellings are very easygoing. And I don't say, I'm too big to take that type of work. No, because I accept and I value them. And the attitude that I have is reflected in everything that I do. So I take care whether the client is big or the client is small, whether the job is big or the job is small, because it's how I feel inside. And when I feel good inside, people will experience that. So think about a time when you have felt really happy, you felt top of the world. Have you seen how you become like a magnet? Everyone is attracted to you and you feel good. And then equally, when you get angry, we get upset. Yeah, everybody maintains their distance. They don't want to talk. Why? Because they feel threatened. And that's the moment when relationships break down. So healing relationships first starts with the self. It's a loving relationship with the self. So it means I need to let go of the past. Don't hold on to the past. Don't think about, well, you said this to me, that happened. You can't change time. But what I can do is I can learn from the past. Whatever relationship that caused me pain, I need to have closure. I need to let go. They say time is a great healer, but the greatest healer is actually myself, being in the present. So yes, I've learned many life's lessons from the past, and still I'm learning lessons. I will always learn lessons. So I have this attitude that I ask myself, what is this individual, what is this situation come to teach me? And it always comes to teach me something about myself. And from that, I think I've become a better human being. I've become a better being where I can be myself, but also allow others to be themselves. And so when we're being easygoing, easy-natured, we're easily able to mold in different situations with different people, with different climates. So I have no problems now. For many, many years, I've never really had any problems with people, regardless of their religion or their belief systems or their cultures, because I know they're just like me. They're just an actor playing a role. And all I got to do is to play my role. So don't get into directing others. Become your own director, your own producer. And then you know what? Life will sort itself out anyway. Om Shanti. So I think I've given you a few ideas, a few moments of sharing. And what I thought was now, let's make it a little bit interactive. I don't like lectures. It's a culture in the West. We like to have interactive sessions, because otherwise it's like, yeah, listen to me. It's my way or the highway type approach. It would be great if you want to share your comments, and if you put them on chat. And we got Varun, who is the sort of moderator. And if I pick up some points and we can answer them, okay?
Yeah, so we already have one question posted by Chaitram Thakur. So while we go through this, I will request other participants, if they have any questions, you can post them in the chat box. So the question is, how do we guide kids out of our own experience and mistakes? And when we do that, are we also interfering with their life?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Now, I can speak from my own experience, where yes, as parents, we need to have boundaries. We need to say, okay, you can do this, but you've got to stay within the boundaries. So you've got to come back home at a certain time. You've got to have this type of lifestyle. But ultimately, think about your own childhood. How did you feel when you were told you had to do this, you had to do that? I bet you didn't feel good. So as parents, we have a responsibility. We need to have an open door policy. But if they break those boundaries, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's because, think about yourselves, you learned more when you made mistakes. No parent in the world wants their children to go through the bad experiences that we've experienced. Of course, we want to pass on our experience to others. But at the same time, we also need to recognize our children are just actors playing a role. They also have their aspirations and inspirations. And if I start imposing conditions onto that relationship, you should do well at school, you should do this, you should do that. Of course, as parents, we need to inspire them, reach their aspirations. But if somebody is not prepared to listen, sometimes you need to let them go and let them find their own truths, their own experiences. It doesn't mean that I don't care. It means that I'm talking to them, I'm opening my heart with them, and I'm listening to them, and I'm keeping my door open, because yes, they will go out and they will do some crazy things, but that doesn't mean to say I shut the door on them. No, I need to keep that door open, because when they need support as a parent, I need to be there as and when they need me. And the best support I can give them is to believe in them, is to have faith in them, trust them. Don't go into this, well, I don't think this is right. Don't you know? Ask them, yeah, let's explore it. Let's sit down. Let's talk to as equals. Okay. And it's amazing thing is, the moment you do that, wonderful things happen. Because if you try and constantly control someone, they're gonna revolt, they're gonna rebel, and you're gonna lose them. Best way is talk to them, interact with them, be transparent, be open. So you've gone on mute, Varun. I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. So basically, it's about, we do care about them. We do share what we have to share, but at the same time, we also accept what they think, and allow them to explore and learn their own truth out of their own experience. So thank you for that. I guess that would have answered Ram Thakur's question. So we have another question by Babita Gupta. She's asking, how do we deal with greedy and selfish people?
Well, people are people. You'll find a variety. It's like I'm here. Some people like spicy food. Some people like very bland food. And people have personality traits that can be very spicy. They can be very bland. They can be very selfish, be very manipulative. But you know what? I find that the best people who thrive in these situations are the ones who are the most happiest with themselves. So yes, I have people like, for instance, in my construction, some people are paid more than others, and it's based on performance, it's based on experience, but there's always a little bit amount of jealousy because you're looking at others. And I think if we stop looking at them, start comparing ourselves with others, and start actually just accepting myself, and then what happens is, when we see ourselves first and foremost with that highest vision, we will then see the virtues in others. And by seeing their virtues, by praising others, by showing humility, we actually open them up. And so they will actually realize their own arrogance, their own selfishness. I mean, if people lie, so what? So they lie. What can I do about it? But I shouldn't lie. I shouldn't come down to their level. I should raise them to my level. So I should always bring them up and up. It's like the children. Look, see them as your best friend. When your best friend is down, you don't kick them. You want to help them. You want to uplift them. You want to inspire them. You want to say, yeah, you can do much more than that. So do that by looking at their virtues, not saying, well, you're like this, you'll never change. Well, that's a very negative attitude. That's me being selfish. I think we need to have a very benevolent attitude, but we need to be very fearless. We shouldn't be afraid to speak the truth, you know, and have courage. You know, when I'm coming from perspective of being me, the truthful being, no one will shake me. So don't be afraid of what about others. Just pay attention to yourself.
So thank you for that answer. I guess it's about feeling
Thank
good
you
about.
so much. Nice description.
Thank you, Abhita, for the question. So we have another question by Shabir. He's asking, in the journey of understanding the self, how do I know that I'm in the right direction?
Very easy. When you feel comfortable, when you feel happy, when you feel content. If there's something in your heart that's creating doubt, then stop and pause and then reflect. Don't just go 100% in this direction and think, well, that's the only way. No, there is nothing wrong, and say, hang on, I got it wrong. And that's my ego that's deceiving me. When I start having self-respect, there is nothing wrong in saying, well, you know, I got it wrong. Stop and pause. I'll tell you one of the best things I find to make decisions, because ultimately, when I was a senior manager in education, I wasn't teaching, I was more in the administration side. Basically, I was looking after 6 other managers, and my role was basically to make decisions. And I can only make decisions when I looked at things objectively. And if I got things wrong, it was my emotion that was coming in. But then I didn't have the arrogance to say, well, I'm always right. I would listen. I would take the views of others and I would say, what do you think? And by getting people involved, I found it was so much easier to make decisions. And if we had to change a course of direction, it was not a problem because I had everyone on board. But if I'm high and mighty and I'm always telling others, you know, it's going to be very difficult to change because my ego will tell me, keep going. You can't back down. You know, if I do that, then the scars are going to become deeper and longer, and they're going to take more time to heal. So reflect. I always say, go into silence before you make any decision. Think before you think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question too, Shabir. So another question is by Raj. The question is, how do you tackle conflict of interest in relationships?
Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, yes. Yeah. So again, you know, one thing we should be fearless, and we shouldn't have any favoritism. And the word we use in the West is called look at things objectively. So when I look at things objectively, I look at everything. I look at from another person's perspective. So that's empathy. I'm looking at things from their lens and not just my own. And if there is a conflict of interest, it's usually I'm looking, being manipulated, influenced by someone else. It could be I'd be siding towards one and not the other. I think when I'm completely open and honest with myself and I'm being truthful, then there's never a conflict of interest because I will always make the right decision. And that decision has to be on the basis that it brings benefit to the self and to others. If it's just benefit to me and not others, then that's a conflict of interest. You'll have to explore that answer.
Thank you for that answer. And Raj, I'm sure that would have given you some sort of direction to explore. And I think we have one last question from Venkat. The question is, at times there are many conflicts within us. So how do we deal with that?
Okay, best thing is to take it one step at a time. Try not to deal with everything. We've got to learn to prioritize. And I've learned that in life, sometimes something requires immediate decisions. Sometimes others will take time. But when there's so much happening inside myself, silence is the best method. And what I mean by silence is not physical silence. It's not zipping the lip. No, it's about finding a place that's really making me feel very peaceful, very relaxed. And this is what we call contemplation, reflection, introspection, or meditation. And when I'm sitting in silence, I seem to find solutions rather than problems. So I'm constantly dealing with situations, but I don't see problems. I see solutions. So I'm looking at, okay, we're in this situation. I can be free from any forms of emotional attachment. I'm looking at, yeah, I'm free. I can see things. And then suddenly solutions come. It's like, wow, I didn't see that. If my mind is busy thinking about this, busy thinking about that. So I would say, if there's a lot of happening in your mind, there's a lot of chatter going on, whether it's from the past or whether it's from the outside, just go into silence and just connect with yourself and just say, I am a peaceful being. That's all you got to do. This is the mantra. I am a peaceful being. Peace is my religion. Peace is my nature. And then suddenly you're talking to yourself in such a nice way, you feel very light and easy. And then you think, right, now I have this situation. Let me put my positive energy into that and watch the magic happen. And I'm speaking from practical experience. I'm not just saying this is that. It does work. It really does work.
Thank you, brother, for the answer. I hope, Venkat, you may have got a direction to go for this, to get a solution for this. And thank you for the question too. So now those are the only questions we had, brothers. Maybe if you want to end with a small meditation, then we can.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is just information. In today's world, we're in information overload. And you can go on the internet, you can type in, how do I find peace and this and that? All of that accounts for nothing until you experience it. There's an expression, use it or lose it. So if I use the information that I am a peaceful being, I will experience it. And I would say, when you do meditation, 3 stages. You acknowledge, you then realize, and then you become. So I acknowledge I am a peaceful being. Then I experience I am a peaceful being. And then the more you experience it, then you become it. And then suddenly your whole behavior, your personality traits change. And then that's when you get power. That power enables you put that knowledge into practice. Like your phone, it has all the apps, it has all that wonderful things. But if the battery is discharged, what good is the phone? So you've got to charge yourself. And that's what meditation is. And that's where you get the power. So let's just practice this. So it's very simple steps. You relax your body, so sit comfortably. And you can do this with your eyes open. This is not about breathing exercises or postures. It's really about talking to yourself in a very nice way. So sit very comfortably, just 2 feet on the floor. Keep your back upright. Just relax every muscle in your body. Just let go of the tension. Just take a deep breath. And exhale. And just breathe very normally. Just become the observer of your thoughts. Imagine yourself standing on a bridge. And you're watching the river of your thoughts flow by. Just let them go. Let go of all the things to do, words that were spoken. Like the water, let it flow. Now, on the screen of your mind, create a simple thought. I am a peaceful being. I realize that in my mind, I have a choice. It is my choice to create peaceful thoughts, free from the influences of the past, of the outside world. In my mind, I am the ruler of this kingdom, and my subjects are my peaceful thoughts. My throne is unshakable, and I rule this kingdom, the mind, with love, with respect, with kindness. And I feel very secure in this inner world of silence. I am a fortress of peace. I sow the seeds of my thoughts in the garden of my mind. I water them with love, with respect. And these blossom into flowers. And in the garden of my mind, there is the fragrance of peace. There are no bondages, no attachments, no expectations. I am free to be the being that I am, a peaceful being, a wonderful being. I am like the actor who plays many roles. Once I've played the role, I let it go. I see myself as this constant being, a being of peace. I see myself like a tiny star, constantly ignited, an embodiment of peace. And I feel very secure in this awareness, knowing that I am forevermore a peaceful soul. And I sit here in the center of this forehead, sparkling with peace. I see through the windows of the eyes, speak through this mouth. It is I, the soul, that is the being, wearing this costume, the body. I will always be constantly a point of light. Situations may change. Even this body may change, but I am constant. A peaceful soul, a benevolent soul, a loving soul. This is who I am. This is the real me. There is an abundance of this peace within me. No one can snatch it. No one can steal it. I'm like an ocean of peace. And I send out waves of peace. I'm benevolent. I'm merciful. I am a peaceful soul, a tiny star. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you very much. I hope you
brother.
took something useful from today's talk.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was very insightful. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the beautiful meditation experience. So, and I'll just share a few things that really resonated with me. So I think when you shared, the major cause of breakdown in relationships, the expectations, desires, and attachment, which kind of stems from our deep-rooted habit of blaming others for our sorrow, and also thinking that our happiness is caused by things or people outside. So, but knowing that the solution is within us, it kind of makes it simple. Instead of trying to control everything outside, okay, I can just work within me. So working on the self, accepting self as we are, will allow us to let go of our past, to heal our scars. And when as we do it, we fill ourselves with freedom, happiness, contentment, and that's how we will approach in our relationships, allowing us to accept everyone as they are. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's very helpful. I'm pretty sure it helped everyone who is listening to this. And thank you everyone also for joining us. So we have a few announcements before we break out. So one is that we have a session on Bhagavad Gita, the secrets of Bhagavad Gita. This is happening on 25th to 27th. This will happen 5:30 in the evening to 7:30 p.m. And it'll be in Hindi. So you are welcome, and feel free to share this with your friends and family, whoever you think will be interested to attend this. You can share this information with them. And also, all the sessions that we have in Sunday Evening Talk are all uploaded on a YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go back to the past sessions, if you have missed something, or if you want to share this session with anyone whom you think will benefit, so you can definitely access that or subscribe to the channel and share this to your friends and family. And also for the next Sunday Evening Talk, you guys will be receiving an email for the topic and the timing. So thank you again for joining us. Thanks a lot, brother, too, for joining
Thank
and
you.
sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.